Have you noticed other animal videos in the channel? Please have a look. Let's go for our new episode. The slowworm, Anguis fragilis, is a reptile native to Western Eurasia. It is also called deaf adder, blindworm, or regionally, long-cripple. These legless lizards are also sometimes called common slowworms. The blind in blindworm refers to the lizard's small eyes, similar to a blindsnake. Slowworms are semifossorial lizards, spending much of their time hiding underneath objects. The skin is smooth with scales that do not overlap one another. Like many other lizards, they autotomize, meaning that they have the ability to shed their tails to escape predators. While the tail regrows, it does not reach its original length. In the UK, they are common in gardens and can be encouraged to enter and help remove pest insects by placing black plastic or a piece of tin on the ground. On warm days, one or more slowworms can often be found underneath these heat collectors. One of the biggest causes of mortality in slowworms in suburban areas is the domestic cat, against which it has no defense. Slowworms have an elongated body, with a circular cross-section without limbs. There is no visible neck. The tail, which ends in a horny tip, is continuous with the trunk and is often slightly longer. Slowworms exhibit caudal autotomy, the severing of the tail, when it is pulled by predators. When regrown, the tail only grows back to a short stub. The skin surface consists of smooth, round to hexagonal scales that overlap like roof tiles and are roughly the same shape on the dorsal and ventral surfaces of the body. There are several longitudinal rows running along the underside. In total, the trunk has 125 to 150 transverse scale rows, and the tail has another 130 to 160 rows. Under the scales there are bony plates, which means that slowworms crawl much more stiffly and clumsily than snakes. The scaling of the head is similar to that of other lizards. The ear openings are mostly completely hidden under the scales. The relatively small eyes have movable, closable eyelids and round pupils. The rather short tongue is broad, bilobed, and does not end in fine tips. To absorb odorous substances, slowworms have to open their mouths slightly, as they lack the gap in the upper lip that snakes possess. The pointed, sometimes quite loosely sitting teeth are curved backwards. These reptiles are mostly active during the twilight and occasionally bask in the sun, but are more often found hiding beneath rocks and logs. They are carnivorous and, because they feed on slugs and worms, they can often be found in long grass and other damp environments. In Central Europe, the mating season of the species is usually between the end of April and June. The males wrestle often violently around the females, although in most populations they are in the majority. The gestation period of the females lasts 11 to 14 weeks, subsequently between mid-July and the end of August, sometimes even later. They usually wean between 8 and 12 young. Slowworms are ovoviviparous. At birth, the 7 to 10 centimeters long young animals are in a very thin, transparent eggshell, which they pierce immediately afterwards. They initially weigh less than a gram and still have a remnant of the yolk. Juvenile slowworms have a contrasting color scheme and pattern. The top of the body is silvery white to golden yellow, while the sides and underside are black. I am glad you could spend some time for these wonderful animals. See you soon. Bye for now.